Scott Smith is in the studio. Hello, sir.
Hi, how are you today?
Attorney at law.
Yes, sir.
I always wanted to be an attorney at law, but that's a lot of school, man.
It's a lot of school and it's a lot of debt.
So we have a lawyer in every Wednesday, and so now they're like, oh, we have a lawyer in again, and it's a Thursday, but this is a little different.
Now, we have Steve Palmer in giving legal advice on Wednesday, but you're not giving legal advice to our listeners today. You're here to talk about this case at Ohio State that you've taken on.
Yeah, this is breaking news. I was contacted by a former student athlete at Ohio State University who had been sexually abused by Dr. Strauss. For those who don't know about this situation, Dr. Strauss was a medical provider at OSU for at least 20 years. And he was the doctor that the student athletes went to for physicals, for colds, for things that weren't orthopedic in nature, or at least at first impression may not be. So they went to see him. And for example, we have many student athletes who represent would go in for a cold, a bump on their chest, and the doctor would immediately ask them to drop their drawers, and he wanted to do a testicular examination
right away
and a rectal examination. And these young kids, age 17 through 19,
are embarrassed, right?
Don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they're coming here from whatever part of the country, maybe small towns. They were taught to do what you're told to do what the coach says, do what your doctor says. They created a system of trust.
And a lot of people just want to stay eligible, right?
Right. And some were threatened with...
Ruffle feathers, not ruffle feathers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Some were threatened that maybe you'd lose your scholarship if you rock the boat. So that's what happened. And over a period of 20 years, this doctor serially harassed, accosted, and abused student athletes and even students. So they've come to us. We are filing a lawsuit today in federal court against the university for Strauss's behavior, and more importantly, for the institution turning a blind eye to all these student athletes.
Too long.
This was
of a list, too long of a time to be employed. Now he is deceased because he took his own life. Now that's interesting as well, that you have to be thinking some dark stuff to take your own life.
Yeah.
What was on his mind?
Well, he died reportedly by suicide in 2005 in Venice, California. So the guilt may have racked him. I can't tell you that. We're looking into it, but it's not as important to us as our focus is on Ohio State.
Right.
What they knew, when they knew, and why they didn't do anything about it.
Now, have any of the athletes come out publicly?
Yes. Of the group we represent, we've got 3 individuals who are public, who are going to be named on the lawsuit. One is a student. One is a student athlete. The student athlete is Ron McDaniel, played tennis at Ohio State. The other one is a student who happened to, in 1995, just go in for a bump on his chest, and the doctor immediately started making inappropriate comments to him, rubbed up against him with his erection, asking if he was gay, told him that he treats AIDS patients as apparently a sign that make him more comfortable. The bump on the chest resulted in, drop your drawers, we're going to do a testicular examination, then we're going to do a rectal exam. And the kid's like, I've fought in 2 wars. I'm here 24 years old. I've fought in Afghanistan and Iraq. What is going on? He was dumbfounded. He was shocked.
He's been in a program. Military is a program with their own doctors.
Right. Yeah,
has he been treated that way? Probably not. So now I come here in this program. What's happening?
He's dumbfounded. He's confused. He just wants to get out of there at that point. At that point, the bump on his chest didn't matter anymore. He wanted out, and he got out. And what he did was very astute and very wise. He called and complained, and they wrote a complaint, and we have the complaint. And Ohio State University responded, and they said Dr. Strauss in 1995 had never had a complaint against him, had never had anything but positive comments about him. Well, it turns out we have another client who in 1978 complained about Dr. Strauss for the same type of behavior. So we're looking at something that we're going to try to uncover, and I'm going to bet $1 to a donut that there's going to be a lot more.
Now, if you had to say, what year does this go back to? Like, what's the earliest claim?
Well, the earliest one we have is 1978. Now it's a wrestler.
Okay.
Complaining about a Resolite burn, rug burn, sort of, from Matt Burns,
right.
And went in, same routine. This doctor had a pattern. You came in for anything, you're dropping your drawers. He's going to fondle you. He's going to caress you and make you feel uncomfortable. And these young kids didn't know any better. And he got away with it. The question is how many times. The biggest problem is it was reported. Now, another class action has been filed by a bunch of wrestlers. And that's already in suit, and that's been in the press. And Michael DeSabato, I think, is listed on there. But they said they complained. And the coach apparently, we haven't seen the report yet, Russ Hellickson complained to OSU. Well, that would have been in the 80s. So for this letter to come out in 1995, we've never had a complaint about Dr. Strauss, is astounding.
So you're not involved with Mike DeSabato in that case? We
know Mike. We wish them well, but we're not filing a class action. Our cause of action we're filing today is individual claims for individual people. They're all unique. They're all different. They did have some of the same similarities in terms of the abuse, but everyone suffers differently on this. Some people can shrug it off. Other people it's affected to this day.
How do you think this stands up against what happened at Penn State?
Well, there's a lot of similarities there, too. But until we uncover all the details, it's hard to say.
From what you've heard, is it as gross and as invasive as what you've heard?
Well, some of it has been, and I'm not sure that there isn't more athletes out there, more students
out there. Not to compare, by the way. You know, it's, obviously that's a terrible thing to compare. But
right. We haven't uncovered any direct allegations of sodomy, but I'm not going to be surprised if we hear about it.
Yeah, I mean, this is, to me, if true, with all due respect, it seems like a wild violation of trust.
It's an institutional indifference to the rights of the students. There's going to be a breaking national CBS show tomorrow that they came in yesterday and taped two of the people we represent, and that's going to be an exclusive that CBS has. We've given them the complaint. We've given them the complaint that this student filed. This is probably going to take a new turn real fast.
Now, does this help your case or hurt your case that the dive coach at OSU, the former Ohio State dive coach, he's been on leave because of sexual
misconduct
investigation, an Ohio State investigation of 2014, claims of sexual abuse. This was 2 days ago. Did you hear about this?
Well, it's in our complaint. You'll see when we file this. Because we're talking about over 4 decades where Ohio State has not done with this repeated behavior. Not only our situation with Dr. Strauss, who was there for 20 years, but now you've got the diving coach at OSU. Did you forget about the band leader? You remember all of the lawsuits that were filed with this sexual culture with the band members? This stuff is rampant, and I don't know how a state can function as an institution of such great magnitude.
They did can the band leader, right?
Well, they address it after the fact. Where are they in the preventative side? You know, if you got complaints, why aren't you putting in protocols, policies, and procedures that would protect these young people?
Did any of your clients mention that the gymnasts who came forward about Dr. Larry Nassar, if that gave them more courage to come forward and be heard?
It did. I think a lot of what's going on in our society today has caused people to get the courage to become more brave and come out and go, hey, look.
Enough is enough.
Yeah, I hope so, man. You know, I'm on board, man, with the Me Too movement, with the people that are, you know, that spans gender, that spans sexuality. No matter what happened, it's not right. You know, and it doesn't matter who it happened to. It's not right.
It's almost sickening. Yeah. I mean, as the individuals who talked on the show yesterday, it's absurd to them. I mean, the damages that were caused some of these kids, they can't go in to see a doctor. They're not kids. They're adults now. Some of them close to my age. They can't go in for that exam that they need. One of the individuals...
People don't understand that anxiety either that people have after a traumatic situation like that.
You think you can shake it off, and you know, you can't.
And it really shows... I'm very close with the wrestling world and the mixed martial arts world and know a lot of these guys. Mark Coleman's one of my very best friends. And, you know, looking at this from that angle, guys that are some of the toughest on the planet, for them to come forward, and I'm not saying Mark's coming forward, but just people on that Ohio State wrestling team at any given time between the 70s and now, for tough guys to come forward and say, hey, man, this happened to me, and this is not right, and I want to make sure that my story's heard.
That's real courage.
That speaks volumes, you know, and
I agree.
I don't think abuse has a face or a name. It unfortunately knocks on the door far too many people were finding out.
Well, that's the thing. We forget when you see these individuals, they're big, strong men, right? And you think they're adults. These guys just left mom and dad's house not long ago. They're teenagers. Absolutely. So they're subjected to conditioning of, hey, look, do what mom and dad says. They put trust. We all put trust in our doctors, right? Mm-hmm. And we think our doctors can do no wrong. But there's a bad apple in every bunch, and this was the worst.
And I can only imagine people that come from an impoverished situation, the people that want to stay eligible, they have to do whatever they can, grade-wise. They have to work so hard academically. Some guys that are meant to be there, some guys that are stud athletes that are there for that reason, that are trying to keep up academically. It's just very tough that way. But to add this on top of it, I can't even imagine.
It was a predator situation. This guy just prayed.
We did hear yesterday Larry Nassar got attacked in prison. I mean, so you see what happens with these guys. Yeah. What do you think the end game is? How long do you think that a federal trial lasts?
Well, we have to start at the beginning. So we filed a lawsuit today, and we're going to have to go through the discovery process. We're filing under a civil rights claim, Title IX, if you will. Abusive process, equal protection. Ohio State may file a motion to dismiss, but we think our Title IX claim has got some legs, and we think it can withstand any time-barred claims. So it's gonna take the next move by Ohio State. What they're going to do? Do they want to resolve it, or do they want to fight it?
All right. Well, this has been really telling. I know that our audience was interested in hearing your side of the story, today being a big day for you guys going down to file. Scott Smith, attorney at law, representing the Snyder Hill lawsuit against Ohio State and these charges against the former doctor, Dr. Strauss, now deceased, and the university itself. Thanks so much for spending some time with us. We really do appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having me.
We do appreciate you coming